now. And let me know when that's rolling.
Should be good to go.
All right. Welcome everybody. See some familiar faces. Glad you guys all made it. Looks like we have a few people, 17 in the room right now, and more joining as we speak. So that's all good. And actually, I was set to start at 2:03 is my guess. So we are almost right on time. We set it up to begin at 2, figured out to open at about 2:03, give folks a time to find their way in and find a chair to sit on. Just kidding, virtual chair. So once again, thanks for joining us. I do see some familiar faces that I called out earlier, so thanks for all the folks that have been coming into these pretty regularly. And if you're new, this is a monthly thing that we do with Fire Safe Sonoma. We try to bring on a relevant guest speaker, to speak specifically about our area of expertise, wildland fire safety. And we try to make it rewarding for you guys and a fruitful experience, so you have something to take away when we're done here. So we want this to be of value to you all. And we've evolved to, we started out as just having meetings, and then we evolved to now where we have a guest speaker every month. And then I'm not sure how long this presentation is going to go, but if we have time at the end, we can do a little bit of, group therapy, talk about stuff that's going on. So thanks for joining. So last week we had Bob Dozer of the Sonoma County Radio Amateurs Group, SCRA. And once again, just to remind you guys, he's the neighborhood communications liaison. He's doing a lot of work in the amateur radio space, but also with GMRS, the family licensable channel. You don't need like a full-on ham license to use that particular kind of radio. Just fill out the paperwork and pay a fee, and I think the fee was recently dropped actually. So if you're interested in being able to get a high-end radio and talk and get things moving in the right direction during emergencies, join a group, form a group in your map, your neighborhood, or your local fire safe council or whatever you got going on, and put the radios to good use. But if you want, you can go back and take a look at that. Mason probably has dropped that in the chat, the link to them, and also our YouTube channel is dropped into the link as well. So if you want to go back and see this after the fact or share it with others, you can do that. And once again, remember, we are recording, so if you don't want to be recorded, stay with your camera off and play it by ear. And then so that was good. And then next month, we're having the Sonoma County Resource Conservation Districts, in particular the Gold Ridge RCD is going to be joining us to talk about all the work that they do, count in their space, Gold Ridge footprint that they work in. But also I think they will be, I'm not sure if somebody from the Sonoma County RCD is going to join us as well yet, but regardless, the Gold Ridge folks can tell us about all the work both the RCDs do countywide. And then let's see, this format is meant to be a format where we do the intros real quick like I'm doing now, and then we bring on our presenter, and then we have some Q&A after. And then, like I say, if there's time, we can have some off-the-cuff discussions after that. A couple of folks are helping today. We have Marika Ramsden. She is our Fire Safe Sonoma Executive Coordinator, and she is just hit the ground running, helping us immensely. Makes me want to cry, all the work she's doing. And then most of you are probably familiar with Mason Innumerable. He's our Grizzly Corps fellow that we share with the Gold Ridge RCD. He's helping out a lot as well. He pretty much runs these presentations. All I do is kind of show up and do what he tells me to do. So he's behind the scenes dropping things in chat, and both he and Marika will probably be fielding the questions later. And if we have a small enough group, we might just open it up to anybody who wants to toss a question out audibly. Otherwise, just throw your questions in the chat. And along the way, if you think of something while we're in the middle of the presentation, feel free to drop your question in the chat, and we will get to it, time permitting. It's very rare that we don't have enough time to get to all the questions. Okay, that's a couple reminders. Did that. A couple of fire station home updates. We're getting ready to deploy our tool trailer that's outfitted with a bunch of Defensible Space tools, fuels reduction tools, vegetation, basically yard work tools. And so we're going to get some folks trained up on that and start to get that out there into the communities to get some good work done. And then also another thing we've got going on, we finally got off the ground our home assessments for low income. So that's on our website now. If you know folks that fit into a low income bracket and they want a home assessment, point them our way, and we'll get them signed up and get some professional assessors out there to do those home assessments for them. And then we're also working with some experts in horticulture, I guess you call it, plants. Fire Station Home is part of a group called the Resilient Landscapes Coalition. And we've been, over the last year, I think, or maybe longer, creating and deploying or delivering several presentations on resilient landscaping. We're getting ready to deliver the module that was developed specifically for fire officials, to teach fire officials everything they need to know about resilient landscaping, so that they're not just out there telling people, you know, chop this down, get it out of here, pull this out. We want the fire officials to understand that, you know, there are ways to have a very beautiful landscape without just, you know, cutting and trimming and taking things away. So that's enough of me talking. Today we have with us the Sonoma County Fire Warden, Fire Chief Steve Mosiurchak. And the county fire warden is actually appointed by the Board of Supervisors, according to the California Constitution. And that person's charged with enforcing all laws and ordinances related to fires and fire prevention in the unincorporated areas of the county. And Steve actually has the job that I used to have. We call him the county fire marshal. He's a key player in a lot of the fire prevention work done countywide. And today he's going to get us up to speed on the countywide chipper program. He's going to talk to us a little bit about, you know, how the program came about, you know, the resources pointed at it, and he'll probably talk to us about how you can prep your brush for pickup. Where I live, we have a chipper program in our community, and I think it was yesterday or the day before that the chipper crews came out and took my stuff away. It's a really good program. And Steve will also probably cover how to request this service, and then, you know, answer any questions you have related to that. And then after that, we'll have about a 20-minute Q&A. So, yeah, that's the plan. So, Steve, welcome. Always a pleasure working with you. And I'm glad you're here, and I'm just going to go dark and turn it over to you. You have the floor, my friend.
All right. I'm hoping everybody could hear me pretty clear. I'm going to, once I start the presentation, I'm going to turn my video off just in order to create some faster speeds in order to go through the slides, be able to better communicate with all of you. I see a lot of familiar names, so I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to jump aboard with this topic of covering our chipper program and how you can get the information out there to your communities. And I am going to start sharing my screen here. So let's see if I can do this without a flaw. Okay.
Confidence levels high.
Confidence level high. All right. So can you see my main slide?
Affirmative. Perfect.
Okay. And let's see. Okay. And that is not working. Try this.
Yeah, Steve Marshall spelled wrong, but it's okay.
Spell it like your name.
Just giving you a bad time.
I know.
It's hard. It's hard when you're the fire marshal and you're working with somebody whose name is Marshall. The spelling is different. I struggled with that.
Okay, so something goofy is happening here. because it was just working before we all started talking. So let's see.
Well,
what I can do.
I think
We're
we'll
seeing
have-
Steve, we're seeing your screen.
Yeah, but on my end, when I'm flipping through my slides, it's not changing for you.
Okay.
So okay, now let's try it again. All right, so this is part of the video issue. All right, so let's try this. Okay. All right. Let's shrink that down. Try this one more time.
And let me try something while Steve's doing that. Mason, can you, since you're the host now, do you see the poll that I set up? Oh wait, let's see if we got it.
Okay, I think we got
Okay,
it.
we're there, okay.
All right. Thanks for bearing with me. All right, everybody. My name is Steve Mosiurchak. I am the fire marshal for the county of Sonoma. It is a very unique position. I work very closely with all the fire districts and the volunteer fire companies in the county. So I'm just a county employee, and most of you are very familiar with every one of your local fire districts, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm talking to you guys today about our residential chipper program. So some of the things I'm going to cover today is the history, what is the program, guidelines, how to apply, which is the most important part, some of the do's and don'ts that we've experienced along the way, the zones and the fire districts and some of the fire district participation with us, the process that you would go through after you submit your application. And then I'll talk a little bit about staffing and equipment, and then to help out with some of the defensible space basics is why this program exists, is to help you guys do defensible space around your properties, and then utilize our service to come in and chip the material to make it go away. And it encourages good behavior on the property owner's part, and then it offers that free service so you don't have to worry about hauling it or disposing of it yourself. So the history of the program. So this started as a Fire Safe Sonoma vision a long time ago. They received a grant from the Air Quality District, and it was to actually help reduce the number of transport vehicles on the road. So you think about, you cut all this material down, either you're trying to load it up in a green trash bin or load it in the back of a trailer or a truck, and then you're driving to a place to dispose of it. And so the Air Quality District thought it was a great idea to provide a chipper in their jurisdiction in order to help reduce that cost of transporting heavy loads on the roads. It was also a way to help reduce some of the green waste that was going towards the landfills. Further on, we ended up receiving a grant from PG&E because PG&E started to realize that there was a need to encourage vegetation management around the private side of power lines, and also to create those easement right-of-ways on those private roads with their power lines. And so to help encourage good behavior, they supported us with some funding that allowed us to buy a chipper and a truck. And we implemented that, and that's where the program really started to take off between the county and Fire Safe Sonoma. Fast forward a little bit, the county took over ownership of the Fire Safe Sonoma chipper, so that allowed us to add 2 chippers to our fleet. Maintenance on chippers is very expensive. So whether you as a homeowner tried to go rent one, the rental company generally would charge you not only for the rental fee of the machine, but they end up charging you for the maintenance part of when you bring it back. And that can include, depending on how long you rented it for, that covers like blades, any damage, minor damage, and just the general maintenance on the machine itself. It costs our organization roughly anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per month to maintain the machines because of the amount of work that we're doing out in the field. And so that is a cost savings to a property owner of renting a machine to do all this work. Continue on, the Board of Supervisors realized that the program, there was a need for it, and they wanted to continue the support between the PG&E funding and the Fire Safe Sonoma kind of kick off. And so they provided our division about $170,000 per year in order to run this program on a seasonal basis. And so that amount of money would go towards the maintenance of the machines, creating the application process, paying for staff to do all the applications, and then get our crews out in the field. When we first started, it was high interest, but very low volume. And so over the years, we still have high interest and a lot of high volume. And so that what triggered us to go into more of thinking about a year round, or start thinking about working with other program providers. And it gave us an opportunity to work with the SAY program. If anybody's familiar with the SAY program, it's the Social Advocates of Youth. It allowed us to hire people that needed some work experience. These are kids, young adults that had some troubles with the law, may have had difficulties in school, may not have the best education, but are hard workers. And so we were able to put them part of our crew, and we utilized some of that funding that we got from the Board of Soups to pay them to help out with the program. And then we also engaged.
Can I just stop you for a second? I'm just wondering if you're changing slides.
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay,
Not
good.
yet.
Okay.
But thanks for the reminder.
Okay.
So this is just a follow up with just a little bit of the history. And then with the increased, we started working with the Conservation Corps group. So it really got us out there and highly visible within the community. But then it became into a year-round request. You know, our season generally runs from May until about October, November, till we get the first rains. We shut down for fire season, high fired, red flag days, and so on. But we started realizing that the community groups, the fire safe councils, the COOP groups that are out there, really started wanting to utilize this service to promote some more vegetation clearance within their community. And so we started providing support to Occidental and Forestville and Fitch Mountain, and it really took off. And we saw the benefits of the community getting together, working well with one another, creating a program where we can come in a very fast amount of time, get the piles done and get out of there. And then also realize that it's good to maybe reschedule these on a reoccurring basis. And so that's what created our program to run into like an off-season type of scenario. So what is the program? This is a home that was saved due to Defensible Space in the Mark West Wickiup area. And you can see that from the picture that there is some decent defensible space around the structure, underneath the deck, within the tree line, the ladder fuels, some hardscaping, at or near the structure. And this was a little bit further down the hill. And you can see that the fire really just came up to a certain line and went out. These are examples of properties. There's a lot of properties that were in this specific area that utilized our chipper program. And after the fires, reported back to us and said, hey, without this service, I probably wouldn't have gotten this work done. And I don't know if my home really would have survived. So it's kind of a win-win for us, really knowing that providing this encouraged people to do things that they may have not wanted to do. So our division, this is just a picture of one of our vehicles and one of our chippers and our crew that was out doing some piles. But our division provides a free chipper service to the residents of all over Sonoma County. It's a way to engage and to making properties more wildfire safe. So the purpose of the program was to create defensible space, specifically around the home, structures, and access routes. And that's another key thing. We want to encourage you working from your home out. We get a lot of people that apply, and when we get out there, we realize they're trying to do property cleanup instead of defensible space. And so it's an opportunity for our crews and our inspectors that go out to educate. We still will help them out with the material that they have created, because it still is a reduction of fuel, but it is a reminder that the program is geared around helping them clear things around the home and their private driveways and private roadways, because that's what's going to make the difference. So it's also a great opportunity for us to get out there and educate. And so we stick with the standard guidelines, 30 feet around the home, all the way out to about 100 feet, primarily focus on driveways and access roads. And this is a great opportunity to see what the goal would be. A lot of properties in Sonoma County look like the one in the top of the slide. You know, you got growth and vegetation close to the home, a lot of shrubbery, and the goal would be to reduce it. We're not telling people to get out there and clear this out, but you can imagine if you were wanting to do the lower slide, the material that you would create, what would you do with that? You can't just load it into your green waste bin. Some people don't have trucks or trailers to haul this away. It costs a lot of money to hire a gardener or a crew to come in and do this for you. And that's some of the statistical data that you will see in the application process that we ask for, because it helps us understand the demographics and what the community is going through, and why they're using this service. So we always start off with our guidelines. This is a picture of a properly stacked pile. This makes it very easy for you as a parcel owner, property owner, somebody that may be hiring somebody to come in and do a little bit of work for you. We highly encourage you read the guidelines first. A lot of our applications, people just check the box stating they read the guidelines, and then we get out there and we find issues that we encounter with their application. So we have to remind them about the guidelines and what and why we can and cannot do some things. A lot of times we're really into this for customer service. We're really into this for education. We try to do the best we can in order to do things that may not meet the guidelines, but sometimes we just have to flat out deny the application and encourage them to either restack it or call us back at a later date. So stacking of piles, just to cover a few things. For us as the crew out there doing the work, and for you as the property owner, if you follow these, it makes the work very easy to do. So make the piles no more than 2 to 3 feet tall. What that helps out is you're not stretching to throw things on top of a huge pile, and we're not stretching in order to take it off the pile in order to get in the machine. Don't make them more than like 8 feet deep or 50 feet long. We have a time commitment of 2 hours per property. We found that if you stick within these measurements, you generally can get all the work that you put into it. We can get it done within that 2-hour limit. We like the material to be as long as possible. A lot of times we get property owners that cut it to fit into a green waste bin. That ends up creating a lot of work for you, and it creates a lot of work for us because it's more material that we end up having to pick up and move into the machine. So for a chipper, it's easier to leave them in long pieces. So we ask that if you do it between 4 feet long and like 10 feet long, and they can be longer, but just don't make the pile as high because that weight causes compression, like compression stacking. And it makes it very hard for us to get it off the pile. If it's been sitting for a couple of weeks, it starts to compress down and it makes it very difficult to get out and into the machine. The biggest thing is not only about stacking, but it's the placement of piles. We have to come in with a truck towing a chipper. Your properties are very narrow, driveways are very narrow. We need a place to potentially turn around or have the skill set and ability for us to back down your driveway in order to get to the material. We like to stay on the road. It prevents property damage. It prevents us from getting too far off the beaten path if we have to deal with septic systems and leach lines and so on. There's many times that we have committed of helping out somebody and driving off-road. It was dry enough. The property owner says, I drive out there all the time. And next thing you know, we run over a sprinkler, we damage something, we hit a fence post. And so we tend to shy away of leaving the beaten path. So the closer you can get the material to the driveway, the easier it will for us to be get in and out to get the job done. The old term used to be called the curbside chipper program. And it meant that you put your stuff really, at the curb. In the rural areas, there are really no curbs. It was like the edge of the driveway. And that's what made it easy. So that's that old term, curbside chipper program. We don't want you to be blocking roads. We don't want you to be blocking driveways. A lot of people are on shared private roads, public right-of-way. Try to keep the material out of the public right-of-way. We've done some community projects in the past where the community started stacking things in a huge turnout which was in the county right away. We came in and chipped it, and then literally thought, well, if we come and stack more there, you guys will come back at a later date and do it again for us. And it created a problem with us in transportation and public works. Turnouts are for evacuation purposes. Turnouts are for vehicles to pass, and we don't want to obstruct those areas with the material, because by the time we get to it, it could be too late, and we don't want to be having those areas of private roads and driveways blocked for that reason. So try to be conscious of proper placement of the material. Let's see if I'm missing anything here. One of the biggest things is we do not haul the chips away. We leave them on site. We try to work with each property owner the best we can in order to properly place the chips in a location that works for you and works for us. The machine has a chute on it that spins generally 180 degrees facing forward towards the tow vehicle. It is hard sometimes to get chips blown in a proper direction. And so some property owners are very particular about where they want the material provided. But the material comes out of the chute at a high rate of speed, and when it hits the ground, it starts to spray everywhere. And so just be conscious that we want to try to do the best we can, but between the machine and limitations on the chipping chute, sometimes it makes a little bit bigger of a mess than anybody expected. We also get requests for people wanting us to blow the chips into the back of their own pickup, and they will come and create some thing with their truck that has a makeshift stake side with a couple pieces of plywood, and they hope that we would blow the chips in the back of the truck. We've done it before. It's we encourage that behavior to not be done because it could damage your vehicle. It could hurt a crew member, and it can even hurt you while we're trying to do it. It's a lot of work, and it's not safe at all. Let's see. Okay, next slide. So how to apply? Application is completely online now. Way back in the day when this first started, it was a paper application. You would download it, fill it out, fax it in, mail it in, email it, however it got to us, and we would put you in line, first come, first serve. We have had some advancements in how we do the application process now, and it's all electronic. We open up the portal, you go in there, you fill out the application, provide us the information that we're asking, you hit submit, and then automatically it goes in first come, first serve basis by date, and then it puts you based on your parcel. And the process is set up that it will take you to the website directly. It forces you to go to the guidelines page to help you, encourage you to read the guidelines. And then some of the do's and don'ts. So here is a pile that somebody created. To us in the fire service, this was what we would call a burn pile. It's just a mixture of material that has been sitting around for maybe a couple of months, maybe a couple of years. It just got thrown in there, and then they fill out an application. And one of the things in the application process is to not encourage this type of behavior. The wood, when it gets old, more than a year, becomes very hard, and it creates a lot of issues with the maintenance of our machines. And we want to provide the most longevity of service out there. And if we put material like this through the machine, it takes the machine out for a day or two because it either needs the blade sharpened, the blades rotated, or it could cause damage. And so we encourage you guys to work with your local fire districts or air quality districts to burn this material at the appropriate time in the year. Don't wait for it, for us to do it in the chipping service. Some people miss their burn season and then expect us to come do it during chipping season. And so some of the things not to put in the pile: poison oak, vines, blackberries, palm tree fronds, bamboo. Vines and blackberries obviously because of the thorns, it's hard to get in the machine. It also binds up on the wheels, and then it is a nightmare to get out. You have to shut the machine down. It could take it out for either a day or a couple hours because the crew's got to get in there and cut it out. It also clogs our chutes. No old wood over a year. We experienced this during fires when we had the massive fires come through Sonoma County, and we were trying to help out property owners get rid of some of the burned wood on their property. And the longer it sat, the harder it got, and we ended up spending a lot of money on maintenance and repairs. And so we've added this to the list of we will not chip burned wood anymore. Sudden oak death. There is a lot of sudden oak death out there. The crew sometimes can spot it if it's left in the pile. They know not to touch it. We generally go through a lot of disinfecting procedures. We do wash downs at the end of the day. We try to stay in the same zone to reduce contamination. We're worried about weeds, so like Scotch broom, grouse, all that type of stuff. We do not want to encourage more of the invasive species out there. So we're very cautious about what we put in the machine and how it gets dispersed throughout the county. Another thing to think about is people place piles where they believe they have the best room in order for them to do it, and they are not conscious about the truck coming in and the chipper. And so we find a lot of piles in the back of a property, on another side of a fence, obstructed by massive amounts of trees or just a small group of trees. And then we have to go in there and try to pull the pile apart, drag it to the machine. It takes a lot of time. And so we try to ask you to pick the best location so that it makes it real safe for the crew to come in and very accessible to the machine itself. And that's the goal and hopes out of this presentation, is to drive it home that be conscious about where you're placing your piles. It makes one big difference to you as the property owner and us as the crews that are coming out to help. We encourage you to focus not only of working on the way out of your home, but also your driveways and your private roads. Maybe work a little bit with your neighbors in order to encourage fuel reduction along the private roads. That's what we need, and that's what you need to get out of your property safely. And so not only think about defensible space throughout your homes, but also think about the driveways, the private roads, all the way out to the county right of ways. Again, branches no more than 4 feet long, no more than 10 feet. We can do stuff up to 4 inches in diameter. We limit it at 4 inches. It's just because of the weight. Our machines can handle big stuff, but we leave it at about 4 inches because when you start getting anything over 4 inches, you start thinking about injuries. You should be using, heavier equipment to move stuff around. So it makes it easy for you as a property owner to really focus in on the smaller material to reduce those lighter flashy fuels, the ladder fuels that are starting to drape over from the trees. That's all within that size limit, the 4-inch limit. And one more thing, I'll just go to the next slide. One more thing to think about, private driveways. Some are open and some have gates. And so it's an opportunity for our crew when we're out there. If you have a gate, if you do not have a Knox key switch on your electric gate, it's time to start thinking about one. Our crew all carries the countywide key in order to test the gates. They do that part of going in and out. When they realize that maybe a property owner doesn't have the key switch, they educate them on it. If they do and it doesn't work, it's an opportunity for you to know as a property owner it's not working. And then the other part is between having a countywide key, which allows every fire agency in the Sonoma County to get in. There's also a new tool that became available through the sheriff's office after the fires. It's an online registration. It allows you to go in, register your gate code, put in a few comments and details. The sheriff's department logs that into a database and allows them to, during an evacuation, be able to get through your property and check on your house, make sure everybody's been properly evacuated, and leave the property as in a very safe and secure opportunity without having to disengage or damage something to get in there and check on you. That's just another useful tool out there. Zones and fire districts. Our program is based on zones and fire districts. And so the county has a large quantity of fire districts. They are constantly talking about consolidation. They are constantly merging with other agencies to reduce those numbers down. I think these numbers are accurate. I think there's 22 fire districts in this county. There's about 9 volunteer fire companies left. And we have 9 technically 9 fire zones. And so just a little bit of information, when you see fire engines driving around and you see their numbers on there, the numbers mean something on those fire engines to the fire department. To you as the community may not know, but for us, it's an identity. The numbers on an engine is an identity. And so just kind of give you an example, when you have a vehicle, let's say like 2940, the first number means the zone it's coming from, and the second number means the department that it belongs to within that zone. And then the last 2 digits kind of identify what that piece of equipment is to us. So when we are using our call signs on the radio, we know just by the numbers what we're getting, or where they're coming from, or how far they're coming. We use in the chipper program the districts and zones in order to coordinate better, to get the crews out faster. It helps them strategically go out and do the inspections and to get the piles done. And it also helps us out with the fire districts that participate in this countywide program of providing the same service within their community. And so fire districts like Northern Sonoma County and Sonoma Valley Fire District, Northern Sonoma County Marshals Group has been part of our participation of doing chipping in their zone. It works out great for us because it helps us focus on higher quantity areas like 8 and 9. And you could see, and I'll go into the dashboard in a little bit of showing you really how all the numbers join together in the applications and the process and such. But this is really a good, useful tool, not only for us, but the districts to use to know what's going on in their district. So this is a public portal that you'll be able to see in a little bit. So the process, the season opens. So the season for us starts beginning of May, usually ends around October, November in the rainy season. And once the season opens, I know everybody is gung ho they got their piles created, and they're waiting for that day that the portal opens so they can get in and get their application. So it's great to know that that's going on. You create your piles, you submit an application, and then our staff or the fire district staff may come out, do a site review, and that's our opportunity to educate and also encourage more behavior, good behavior. We schedule the on-site chipping. We talk with the property owner, let them know when we think we may be coming about there to do the work, or if there's something that may need to be fixed, how to communicate back to us in order to, once it's been fixed, then we can get you on the schedule. And then there's always the best part about it is we do allow parcels 2 opportunities for chipping in a season. So that's called our rechip process. So during the application, you can identify that you may be interested in doing this again. And it's our opportunity later on to follow up with you and ask you if you still like the service, if you create another pile, and then we'll get you back on the calendar to come back out and take care of it. And then the benefit is obviously the reduction of fuels. So that's the process in a nutshell. So staffing for us, we have somebody in administration. That's the person answering the phones. It's an office secretary. They manage the management map tool for us. They're able to walk people through the application process. Sometimes we get calls where the property owner may say, hey, I'm going to back out. I just took care of it on my own. Or I want to add some more things to it and I don't think I'm ready. Or your crew came out, asked me to fix things, and I fixed those items and I'm ready to go. That's what the administration staff is for. We right now run this on seasonal staff. We're asking the county to move us to allowing 2 full-time positions. That way we can have staff out there all year round. And I think because we've been doing this so long, that they're going to entertain that idea. Otherwise, it will always remain a seasonal position. And then we try to supplement or offset our seasonal staff by hiring them at different times so that we could work them through the winter season and try to keep up with some of the winter demand. We typically have a manager. It's usually either one of our full-time fire inspectors or it's me. Right now it's me because we have some staffing shortages. And then we get other help. And that either comes from Conservation Corps or the fire districts. We have 3 chippers, 3 tow vehicles. We come with chainsaws, blowers, hand tools, and firefighting equipment. So all of our staff are very proficient in chainsaws, blowers. We leave the property in the way that you would expect your property to be left by the time we leave. We after we clean up, sometimes you won't even know we're there except for the material that we left in a pile or kind of distributed with the chips. So this takes us into talking a little bit about defensible space to keep in mind, and that's why this program is so efficient. And so I've taken a couple of these slides from other tools we've used talking about defensible space throughout the county. So some of these slides may look familiar, but when people hear defensible space, they start thinking, man, I may have to clear cut my property in order to protect my home. And some people use the term moonscaping. And so here is a picture of the moon, and it is desolate. There's nothing there. We're not looking for that. We're looking for action. We're looking for the material to be selectively thinned out, so that way you can enjoy the landscape, and we can come in there and protect your homes. And it just makes an opportunity to be able to have the fire departments come in there and defend your properties if need be, if something was to happen. And so this is what things should look like. And so, not all plants are bad, not all trees are bad. They just need to be maintained. And so that's the intent of defensible space. So defensible space is not a moonscape. Vegetation is allowed. Just be conscious and utilize the education and outreach out there to help you think about what needs to be thinned out and make your home as safe as possible. And so this takes us into just some of the basics. These are things that the fire agencies, when they go out or you ask them information, they go back to a set of rules and skills that are talked about pretty highly in not only in the fire community, but at a scientific level. And they bring it down to a level hopefully for homeowners to understand. And so our goal is to remove the highly combustible fuels, such as all the dead and dying vegetation. Remove those ladder fuels. Those are the fuels that climb into the trees. So they're the trees low hang. They're hanging into brush, and so those are the ladders that get the fuels up into the crowns of the trees. And remove those highly combustible things from around the building. So whether it's your roofs, your gutters, it's the tree litter that dumps down on your roofs. And you can see here in some of the pictures, you got vines and dead dying vegetation. You have, stuff real close to the home. And then you have a roof that is covered in redwood needles. So criteria, we talk about zones, defensible space zones. There's some new information coming out from the Board of Forestry level that's going to actually talk about more of the hardscaping closer to the home. They realized a lot of stuff that was happening from the fires, a lot of ember casting and things that got wedged up against homes really came from the combustible material that was close to the home, whether it was near the foundation and the siding levels to the decks and so on. So they're adjusting the rules and regulations to be a little bit more restrictive in those zones here in the future. But the first zone is 0 to 30 feet. So you think about your home, you think about the foundation, measure 30 feet out, and that's kind of going to give you your circular zone. You can see from the picture down below, that kind of helps you identify what they're talking about. So start at the house and work outwards. The first zone is the most important zone to focus on. And that program is so useful. The small, thin stuff goes into your green waste bin. The larger stuff that you're dealing with, trees around the home, stuff that's overhanging the roof line, those are the things that can be cut, piled up, and we'll come in there and take care of it. So from the very first zone, remove all those branches. You got chimneys, those are areas for fire or embers and things to extend into the tree line. So deep in there behind that tree is a chimney. You think about the gutters in your roof. Everybody's got different roofs, whether it's non-combustible roofs. So there's still some old cedar shake type roof out there, you want to make sure that your roofing is defendable. Any ember that lands on roofs that are not considered limited combustible or non-combustible is a potential opportunity for your house to catch on fire. Also think about your porches and your stairways and your decks, things where leaves and stuff catch. That's where embers end up falling, and then that's how fire spreads. And then also remember the stuff that's close to the home. So here you have a home that's got like a cedar shake siding. If it wasn't created or from the factory that has some sort of non-combustible or fire retardant material baked inside of it, your siding is flammable. And so when you have vegetation like that, that's a way for the fire to extend into your home. It will leave those ground fuels, travel right up that siding, and then hit your roof. The zone from 30 out to 100 feet, that's the zone that we call is the way to stop or slow the spread. It's the way to reduce that heat coming towards your home. And so if you focus on that and utilize the chipper service, you can reduce a lot of fuel for not only yourself, but for us to come in there and deal with it. So reducing that fuel will slow or reduce the oncoming wildfire, thus creating a landscape that will not readily transmit fire to the home. It'll also help with the ember casting that may occur closer to the home. And then here's just another picture that kind of dictates the different zones for you and what things should look like. Always remember about your vertical clearance. So here's some of your bigger trees. This is where some of those bigger limbs may come into play. Think about reducing those fuels so that the fire can't spread into the trees. So it's a great opportunity to get in there with a chainsaw, have some person come in and do the work for you, pile it up alongside the road, and the stuff goes away. This is my opportunity to also talk about a little bit of structural hardening. Right now, the county is running a couple of grant-funded programs that is not only encouraging defensible space. So we have inspectors out providing assessments in target areas. Those assessments were done in order to identify that you do have violations to either county ordinances or state codes. It was our opportunity to educate property owners of the need and importance of doing this work. And then it gave a little bit of a carrot out there to provide a funding source to get some of the work done. And so they're working through that part of the funding source right now, but a majority of the assessments are already completed. And then it leads into the second phase of the project, which was then to encourage some structural hardening replacement products. And the things to remember, structural hardening either has to do with your roof. So think about Class A roofs. The county has an ordinance right now that any new roof or replacement roof has to be Class A. Venting is an opportunity for embers to get inside those vent holes and then get into your attic space. And then you have a fire that starts from the inside of the home and works its way out. So there are venting products out there that eliminate this issue. The defensible space from the vegetation, the new 0 to 5 law that's going to be coming out from the Board of Forestry pretty soon. Windows are a big ticket item. Old single pane windows, they crack due to the heat. And so fire enters the home that way. If you have dual pane windows and they're not upgraded, usually you have a single tempered pane glass window that's around your doors or windows that are close to doors for safety purposes. But this is an opportunity to have all your windows, at least have at a minimum a single tempered pane, and that will help reduce the window from cracking under intense heat and then embers being able to enter the home. Simple stuff, clean off your decks. If you retrofit your deck, you replace your deck. Think about things of limited combustibility. Non-combustible decks are usually of metal. Stuff that are usually considered what they call ignition resistant means that if an ember was to sit on it for a little while, it really is not going to catch fire. It'll probably go out. And then your siding. A lot of people still have wood siding, shake siding. If you do replacements, think about what you could do to your siding, whether it's go to a hardy concrete type stucco. You could either still do what they call a T111 standard typical exterior sheeting type siding, but then you put a layer of gypboard underneath, an exterior mold resistant gypboard underneath, which then creates an ignition resistant layer to prevent fire from spreading up and getting inside the wall structure of the home. This is our dashboard. So once the slideshow is done, I'll change screens and I'll take you to our dashboard and our application. But this is our dashboard. You can see here it's giving you some information about applications, how many parcels have been chipped. There's got some color coding in there, kind of identifies if you were to submit an application, where you sit in the program. So each icon means something, each color means something, and I'll go over that in a few. And so our goal is you do the hard work, we come in and do some hard work, and then we all get a job well done. So this works out as a benefit to the county, your community, and yourself. If you take on this task of doing the defensible space, taking advantage of our free service, it will help out in the future for one of those fires that could come through. So this is just an opportunity for you guys to write some things down. If you got any questions, I'll take those here at the end of the show, or the slideshow. This is how to get a hold of us. We have an email address that's constantly monitored by staff. We have a telephone that allows you to leave a voicemail. We usually call you back in 1 to 2 days. The website to get to the application. And just a reminder, please read the guidelines to avoid delays of the service. And I am going to stop sharing this screen for right now, and I'm going to go and share another screen here. So it's this.
So Steve, real quick, the program you mentioned earlier, is that SoCo Adapts, where you said there's funding to do certain things?
Yes.
Okay.
So
yes.
yeah, so that's the SoCo Adapts program. It's been widely publicized. There's a lot of information on our website about it. It was designed around specific target areas for a grant. We're hoping, later on, there was the announcement of this BRIC grant of multi-million dollars available to help also with the encouragement of defensible space and structural hardening. We've had some money left over from a couple of these that we're trying to rewrite within the specifics of the grant to allow us to extend our services outside of the identified areas within the grant. So for example, let's say we only focused on an area in Forestville. Well, since we have money left over, we want to broaden that area and extend a little bit further out, going maybe into Monterey, some areas that have high target hazards. So we're going to be consulting with some of the fire districts to kind of understand the demographics that they are having issues with, and to maybe utilize that service in there and do some more outreach. And so we're hoping that the state grants that extension and that opportunity to readjust our areas to offer this service up to other people besides what was in the original target.
Okay, that's good, because that was a big limitation. We have a few calls about that. Your Fire Safe Sonoma about the footprint. Where does it apply? So if you can expand that footprint, that's really cool.
Okay. So this is probably pretty much the last part of the show in the presentation. So I just wanted to give you guys just a walkthrough to help you through the process. This is our new web page. The county went through a whole web page revamp. A lot of information and links that people may have been used to using. Some of them got broken because the redirects weren't done correctly. They're working through those snafus, but this is our target page for our chipper program. Here it talks a little bit about what the program is. It's got an old video of me talking about the service. And then it's got the link right here that will take you to our guidelines page. And so that takes us to this. And so after you read through the guidelines, which is a little bit below the application part, it talks about the stuff we just covered in these slides, how to make your piles, the do's and don'ts, the things to leave out. We constantly add to this list because our staff run into things, and when they start running into things multiple times and they become an issue, we decide to add it to the list. And that just helps with consistency, not only for them that are out doing the inspections, but to help you guys, ultimately the customers to us, the first glance at a tool to know what to do. After you read the guidelines, there's this button right here. This takes you to the application. And so it's a web-based application. It just asks you for some real generic information. The one key piece to make this easy on us and easy on you is right here. This is the most important one, parcel. A lot of people end up putting their address in there instead of their parcel number. And some people wonder, well, I don't even know what my parcel number is. Well, we give you this tool up here to help you find it. So it allows you to search by either your address, and you can remember your parcel numbers are found on your tax records. There's other ways to find your parcel number, but this application process, in order for consistency, to get you in line, the parcel number is the needed criteria. If you enter your parcel number wrong, the system will still take your application. We have a tool on the back end that allows us to run a report to find the people where their application got held up. And when I mean held up is if you submit it and you go immediately and look at our dashboard and you kind of zoom into where your property may be, you won't see an icon. And one would think, well, why does it? I just submitted the application. I don't have an icon now that put me into this application process here. That's because there was a potential problem with it. And so we sort those out. We look at them once a week. We correct the data, and then all of a sudden your application gets put in the system and you'll see an icon pop up on your property. This tool here also lets you guys know where we're at, how much work is out there. And we just got started. And again, we inspect every property first before we commit to chipping it. And so we have 146 pending applications. So far, within 2 weeks, we've done 24. We just got finished doing a project with Fitch Mountain there. We worked with Pat and his group. And we've been doing some community projects along the way. So we've been taking the opportunity to get out there, do the inspections, which you could see are different color icons here in the system. But it's giving you an idea of, what is out there. The other thing is if you guys are looking for your community groups, you can scroll through and you could find them either by how many applications are sitting in supervisory districts, how many have been completed per district. Waiting for chipping means that we've completed the application and you marked yes, or waiting for chipping means that we've inspected it and we're going to be coming out. So right now we've inspected 79 properties already. And out of those 79, prior to those numbers, they're constantly changing. We've completed 24 of them, and then 79 are still waiting to be chipped. Our crews are out there right now chipping. The data gets uploaded and refreshed on a 24-hour basis. So once you're in the system, if we came and chipped today, you will see that your property will be noted as completed tomorrow if you were to check the dashboard later. And I think that covers it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to Roberta.
All right. Great. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. It looks like we already have a question in the queue from Lynn Garrett. She says they've got their community up in the Mark West watershed, number of properties in the class fire footprint where owners are in the process of preparing their homes for a trailer rebuild. The fundamental question, it sounds like, is can they participate in the chipper program for their brush piles, even if they don't currently have an occupied home?
The answer is yes. This program is not just about dealing with properties with homes, but it is also, we will do work with property owners that are on undeveloped or properties that may have been lost in the fire. But keep in mind, it's that material. So a lot of burned out properties where there is no home have been creating these piles of brush that the material that was consumed during the fire may have happened, from 2017. And that stuff is super dry now. And it does not go through the machines as well. And you need a different type of machine to deal with that debris. And so if it's fresh, stuff that's been regrowing back after the fire and you're trying to just do some clearance, yes, we will come in and deal with that stuff. If you got some healthy trees that just needed some limbing and those trees and those limbs were cut within the last year, we will come in and do that. But the old fire stuff, the problem with it is, one, it's too hard. Two, it's got a lot of soot and material left over on it. And as it goes to the machine, it creates large clouds of dust and it creates a inhalation hazard type issue, even though our guys wear masks. But the main reason is it's super hard. And, if you ever had an opportunity to see what it does, it slows the machine down, the blades get dull, and then you can't do any more chipping anyway. So we do not do stuff from the burned out parts of the fires, but we will do more recent, clean, healthy stuff that's grown back, but you're trying to create that defensible space opportunity again.
Right. That makes sense. Pat Abercrombie, you have a question?
Yeah. Hey, Steve, I've operated under the assumption, I'm not sure where I got it, that the chipper program only operates in the unincorporated county. Parts of Fitch Mountain are in Healdsburg's city limits, and I've excluded those folks. Do I need to do that?
The purpose of the program is really to support the needs of the unincorporated areas of the county. We have provided the service to people in the unincorporated areas. Right now, if I took you back to the map, you'll see that there was some applications in the town of city of Sebastopol. There is a couple in the city limits of Healdsburg. We are including those. We don't generally get a lot of applications in the incorporated areas, and that roughly has to do with there's no space. Because if you created the material and you put it at the edge of your driveway, then the fire department, which is what happened to us in Sebastopol, so we stopped what we're doing in order to accommodate the two people in Sebastopol, was they had a weed abatement program. And so they got written up for a weed abatement violation. They submitted an application, and then they were under the time constraints of the weed abatement program. And we started getting the pressure to come in there and do it. Otherwise, they were going to get slapped with a fine. And so if you submit an application, we will communicate those things with you, making sure that you're not part of some sort of weed abatement program within a local fire district or city limits. But we've done chipping. And then again, it's just another opportunity to get the word out there, because we may talk to them, we do something for them, but they have friends and family in the unincorporated areas and it spreads. So the biggest thing is, where do we put the chips? And when you're in an incorporated area, you got very limited room. And so some people think, oh, I'll just hold the garbage can in front of the chute or blow them in my driveway. And then when they realize when they come back, they really don't have a pile, but they have a driveway scattered through with chips. So our crew is really good about talking to the property owners about it, and they give them the final say to say yes or no, but we will help people out in the incorporated areas.
Perfect, thanks. And then I actually shared this question from Erica. So the stats that you shared, the metrics, is that on the dashboard? Is that on a public facing part of the dashboard?
Yes.
Can people access that?
Yes.
Okay, because she's not sure how to get to that.
I just dropped the link in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
It was quite easy to find if you just go to the search on the chipper program. If you go to just type into the search chipper dashboard, it comes up there.
Okay.
And on the application page where the guidelines are, there is a link on that same page that takes you to the dashboard.
Perfect. Awesome.
Sarah has a question asking if you could talk a little bit about neighborhood chipper programs.
Sure. That's actually a really good question. And it's something that we prefer and encourage. We like them for the purpose that it allows us to come in one big swoop and take care of a large community at one time. Pat can speak on, what his experience is trying to run one within his community. And some of the hurdles that we as a crew have: garbage days, tight access roads. Some properties are not even accessible by the chipper. And so they put in a lot of work on not only encouraging this stuff to be done, but a lot of their own work of getting a trailer and loading stuff in a trailer and bring it near the dumpster or bring it down to a location where the chipper is. We've done a massive one out in Sonoma Valley and just brought in Sonoma Valley with their new chipper to really encourage community chipping within their jurisdiction. And so we did 56 homes in 1 week with the help of them. Occidental has a really good program. We've done them last year, probably about 6 or 7 times. They utilize the service more in the off season because they have accessible roads. We can work in the rain, and because they're on accessible roads, it's a no-brainer. And a lot of people don't like working in the heat. We work in the heat, but we don't really like working in the heat. And so if you think about trying to do this stuff now, it's starting to get hot like today. And, if you do more of this during the wintertime and the service is available in the wintertime, which we would like, and that's why we're promoting it to the board to give us those staffing levels we want. It allows us to encourage more community programs during the wintertime. And so if you want something like that, you just call us, show us that you have interest. If you work with neighboring groups, I saw Sarah was on here. She does a great one out in the Forestville area. And they're actually the ones that really started and kicked it off. And we built on that. It's a really well-run organization over there, and everybody else has taken good pride in it, and they've been building theirs the same way. And so if you're interested, please give us a call. We'll schedule a little conference call with you, try to figure out where we could fit it in the system, and kind of give you the criteria and the details to follow, and you'll see how successful it is.
Yeah, and then with that, we're hoping to, down the road, marry up, the county's chipper program for these community projects, at least, with the Fire Safe Sonoma tool trailer. So if you are a participating entity and you know who you are, and you want to do something and marry it up with the chipper program, that's something we can help facilitate. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct.
Yeah, so think about that. And if you're not a participating entity, let us know, because we're working on filling out the deployment schedule for that resource as we speak. If you're interested in becoming part of, the group that has access to that resource, shoot us an email or give us a phone call, and we'll work with the collaborative and see if we can get you in there. Let's see, what else we have? Marika or Mason, you see anything else in the queue? Oh, Mason, is there anything else? Is there any chat or questions in the YouTube that folks have that we can respond to maybe?
No, I think we basically covered everyone that I see.
Okay, cool. I think so. We're all caught up. So I'll just take a few minutes to kind of reminisce about the old days, Steve. You kind of alluded to it earlier. 2008 is when Fire Safe Sonoma got the first chipper program up and running in the county. And I was brand new fire marshal then. But then that a lot of experiences between then and now. So appreciate your historical perspective there on the front end of this. All right, so I think that's it. So what I want to do now, if you guys don't mind, is I want to run a poll, because where we're at now, we have a lineup of guest speakers for future Fire Alliance meetings. And I want to run a poll to get your sense on what you'd like to see us do next, or who you would like to see us bring on board. Sorry about that. So I'm going to attempt to run this poll. Okay, it says, because I logged in from another device, my polling session is inactive. Not sure. Mason, can you run the poll from your end?
Yeah, I can launch
Okay.
it right now.
Yeah, let's
Right.
do that. I think
Doing
because we
it.
switched hosts back and forth.
Okay, it's launched. Does everyone see it?
Okay.
Okay.
So while you guys are taking the poll, Steve, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. And for folks that think that they know somebody who might be interested in this and missed it, it will be available on YouTube. So we did stream it live, so the recording will be on YouTube until we take it down. So probably forever.
And I like to say one final word to everybody is that please reach out to your local fire districts.
Yes.
If you want assessments, take advantage of Fire Safe Sonoma's assessment program. If you are not eligible for whatever reasons, please reach out to the district, show interest. CAL FIRE is also there for support. A lot of the unincorporated areas falls in the state responsibility area. That is what CAL FIRE's primary goal and mission is to reduce the fuels. It's also to protect homes. Their engine companies are out there, are very knowledgeable and educated, and are more than willing to try to support the focus of fire prevention. So either reach out to your local fire districts or reach out to CAL FIRE. Worst case scenario, we're always there as a backup. We provide service for the residential and commercial property sales program, which is a requirement now because of an assembly bill. So if your property falls in a high or very high fire severity zone and it has a structure on it and you want to sell your property, there's a state mandated inspection that is required. We perform those. Some of the local fire districts do. But I encourage you to all utilize the resources you have available and really reach out to your local fire districts to show your concerns about wildland and fire safety, and continue the fight of fuel reduction and safe properties and safe homes and save lives. And so that's what we're here for. So thank you all for listening in today.
Good program. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. And thank you very much, Steve. I know we go way back. So, and actually your presentation was longer than I think you thought it was going to be.
Yes, amazing.
It's okay. So that worked out for us. So we're not going to have time to jump into any off the wall topics after this. Because I want to, what I'll do is we'll stop the YouTube streaming right at an hour and 30 minutes, which is in about a minute. So if you can watch that, Mason, just turn off the YouTube stream in about a minute while we do thanks and that. And then if folks want to stay on, I want to share the results of that poll with folks and talk about kind of offline, if you will, where we're not streaming. We're going to talk about, future opportunities of bringing folks on board. So, yeah, so Mason, you can go ahead and stop the YouTube stream anytime at this point, and that'll give us a good hour and a half program there. And then after you do that, Mason, would you mind sharing that poll? We'll see what folks are interested in doing next. And then Mason working hard in the